Shalom and welcome to Kingdom Counsel, the fight against anti-Shemitism. In just a few moments, we're going to go ahead and dive into this. Shalom and welcome everybody to our next Kingdom Counsel episode, the fight against anti-Shemitism. And so tonight we're just going to discuss what even is anti-Semitism? Who is Shem? You know what I'm saying? Who is that? We're going to share a little bit of the Semitic history. Are the claims of anti-Semitism inclusive of the Shemitic people? Does it include the Shemitic people of color? And how have we as the Black people been historically affected by anti-Shemitic attacks? And then how can we all do our part to support the Shemitic people? Our people have really gone through it as the Shemitic people. And so what can we do to support each other? So what is anti-Semitism? First of all, I'm sure everyone has heard anti-Semitism be thrown around, especially nowadays. It's like so heavy in the news. Anti-Semitic remarks, this person is anti-Semitic, all this stuff. What even is anti-Semitism? And so by definition, anti-Semitism is hostility or prejudice against Jewish people. And so the recent examples of that would definitely be the biggest one we already know, Whoopi Goldberg. She was sat down for her anti-Semitic remarks on The View. And even the president of ABC, Kim Godwin, was like, nope, she's got to sit down. She's suspended for 2 weeks because of what she said. But was what she said even anti-Semitic? That's really the question. Was it anti-Semitic? Also, Nick Cannon, I'm sure everyone is familiar with his remarks about that, saying what he said, and he got in trouble with Viacom for that too.
Nick Cannon is not asking for forgiveness, but after what he said this past summer, many think he should. Bigoted comments he made on one podcast threw his stardom and future into a tailspin.
You can't be anti-Semitic when we are the Semitic people, when we are the same people that who they want to be. That's our birthright.
That's our birthright.
This morning, ABC News suspending Whoopi Goldberg for 2 weeks in response to her inflammatory remarks about the Holocaust. ABC News President Kim Godwin saying in a statement, effective immediately, I am suspending Whoopi Goldberg for 2 weeks for her wrong and hurtful comments. While Whoopi has apologized, I've asked her to take time to reflect and learn about the impact of her comments. The entire ABC News organization stands in solidarity with our Jewish colleagues, friends, family, and communities.
If you're going to do this, then let's be truthful about it, because the Holocaust isn't about race.
On Monday's show, the host of ABC's The View inaccurately claimed the Holocaust was not related to race.
It's not about race. It's not about race.
What is it about?
Because it's about man's inhumanity to man.
So, yeah, as you all have seen, those are the most recent examples. Exactly, like those were the most recent examples of anti-Semitism, as they call it. But honestly, let's get into the real about it. Who was Shem? Because we're talking about fighting against anti-Shemitism. So who is Shem? And Shem, we all know, was one of the 3 sons of Noah. It was Ham, Shem, and Japheth. And Shem is one of the ancestors of Israel, of the forefathers of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's who Shem is. So we're going to be discussing about Shem. And where did they live? It didn't have anything to do with, where the Semitic people are located today. They lived Mesopotamia. The Ark landed on Mount Ararat, which is not anywhere near these other locations. So it's like, let's really dive into the history of it. The history of Sem even. What is the history of Sem? Sem comes from Latin, Greek, German origins. How are we laying claim to something as being Hebrew when the origins are not Hebrew and the origins are Latin? Like literally, the term Semitic did not even come into use until the 1800s. And anyone can look this up too. These are facts that can be readily accessible on the internet. This was not a term until the 1800s during the migration of the Jews from Europe to America. And actually, German historian August Ludwig von Schlosser, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but that's his name. He actually coined the term Semitic during the 1800s. So it's like, where did this even come from? How did you come to this? And are the claims of anti-Semitism inclusive of the Shemitic people of color? Like, does that include us? That's what I want to know. And why are the people of color who identify as Shemitic accused of being anti-Semitic? How do you even do that?
Honestly, it's all confusing. And to me, because who is Sim? Like, where did this come from? Like, seriously, why did this person decide to make this term for someone who is not represented anywhere in the Bible that I can see? Like, I don't know anybody named Sim that was mentioned there. So, like, who is this forefather? Who is this progenitor of the Semitic people? I'm confused.
Well, maybe that's a question that we need to ask them.
Yeah.
Because if we ask them that question, it'll put them on the spot. They'll have to answer and you know what I mean, and show us proof that that's, you know, who they are. So I mean, we just ask them that question, and as long as they can show us, then I guess we can't say anything, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like even on the screen, we see like this came from like the etymology of Sem literally derived from Latin. The Most High did not speak to us from the Latin language. Come on now. Where are y'all getting this from? Like real talk. Like, how did you come up with this? How did you come up? This is the man that gave y'all the title? A German man at that. A man that supposedly is from a race of people who oppressed you is the one that gave you your title? That's really what we going with in 2022? That's what we going with.
I mean, at the end of the day, they look at it like this. Most of us don't know who we are anyway. So at that time, even less of us knew who we were. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, they were able to pull the wool over everybody's eyes. And at the end of the day, he probably used that to justify him, you know, doing what he did to them and saying, look, this was supposed to happen. Look how it was written. And this was supposed to happen to your people. You know, you guys are the Jews. You guys are the, you know, the Israelites that the Bible speaks of. You know what I'm saying? And so, and that, you know, we were just like in the blind about it anyway. So it was easy to pull the wool over our eyes at that time.
Yeah. And like a real question to ask too is, why have our claims not been met with the same respect? Like if you say anything about the Holocaust, like anything, people are gonna snap on you. Like they're gonna be like, oh, this and that and da da da. Like I literally had a history teacher during high school tell us in the class that the Holocaust was worse than slavery. He said that to us. And why do you feel comfortable enough to say that?
I think it's because of two reasons. I think one, because it diminishes what we've been through. And so that way they can't be like, come on, man, you guys act like you had it worse. I know somebody who had it worse than you. You know what I'm saying? And then in the same token, you know, it's just the fact that it makes the European white feel like, you know, that they've actually gone through, you know, it makes them believe that they went through the worst. You know what I'm saying? And it kind of continues that lie, that continuation of that lie, because if you make it seem as though that's the greatest Holocaust that's ever, you know, taken place, then you're going to associate them with the people in the Bible.
Yeah.
And the fact that, like, let's talk about like why the things that our people have suffered can't be called a Holocaust or isn't being called a Holocaust. It's slavery. It's some economic like trade. It's some monetary system just shuttling people around as property. But it was more than just that. It was a Holocaust, and we should also have that term because that would give it more of a weightiness to it, so people can understand like this isn't just some minor thing that happened to our people. Like they try to dismiss it.
Yeah, they are
Well,
very.
let's see.
No,
No,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
I was just gonna say, yeah, they are very dismissive, and that's the problem. Like, why do you feel like, why are we being treated differently? Why are our concerns not being taken seriously? Like, even through movements like the Civil Rights Movement and Black Lives Matter, they've been met with comprehensive legislation, and that's supposed to give us complete restoration as a Shemitic people. But what restoration have we seen from Black Lives Matter?
The only thing that they always point out, and they've been doing this for years now, even prior to Black Lives Matter and all this stuff. This is our claim to equality, or their claim to equality as far as what they've given us has always been, well, there's so many more Black millionaires than there used to be. There's so many more, Black entertainers and celebrities and all this stuff, like as if that's, on the same level, you know what I mean? Like that's not equality, like that's at all. But our people were so easily satisfied that we take those things, and then, you put a puppet up there and you put a token up there, and then we're just like, yeah, see, look, things are getting better, and at that point, again, like, I think we've had this conversation before, but as long as they give us one, we're fine with it. And we're just like, yeah, see, because this person did that, and we're fine now, and we're so easily forgiving because just in our nature as a people we are. But then we overlook everything that they do because they gave us the token and we're cool. So they don't have to work hard at anything. They don't have to prove anything to us. They just have to dangle a few gems in front of us to, make us forget about it. And at the end of the day, it's right back to square one. They're going to go right back to acting like, nothing's, they're going to go back to acting like everything is cool, and we're going to act like nothing ever happened.
Yeah. As if we're supposed to forget how we as the Shemitic people have been historically affected by anti-Shemitism. I mean, the list goes on. Like the fact that we endured Babylonian captivity, the Medes, the Persian captivity, Greek captivity, sub-Saharan slave trade, Trans-Atlantic slave trade, like shuttled between plantations in the South, Central, North, Jim Crow laws, lynching, mutilations, buck breaking. If people don't know what buck breaking is, our men were sodomized by their masters in front of their wives and children. I mean, how much more could you be demeaned? Our women, wives, mothers were raped. Like, it's too much that happened. We even still hold the names of the slave masters who kept us captive. We still have those names. Our language was stripped from us. Our heritage, our inheritance was taken from us. We're forced to assimilate to a religion that keeps us enslaved mentally. We're exploited, like Jamel said, exploited by the entertainment, media, and sport industry, and all form of media industry is exploited. We're just supposed to forget all of that's happened. I mean,
Well, we haven't seen the correlation between everything, because the crazy part is, going back to like the entertainers, celebrities, stuff like that. I mean, it's just a newer form of slavery, because you got, let's say LeBron James, who is working for a white owner. You know what I'm saying? You have who these rappers, whoever the top rapper is right now. You got him working for a label that's probably owned by a white man. You know what I'm saying? You have, whatever actor is probably working in a film, from a company owned by a white man, directed by a white man, a script written by a white man. Like all we are the hired help like we were before. And we're just making them money. We're continuing to make them money. And it makes it look like we're doing more than what we were before. But at the end of the day, we're still getting the pennies. We're still getting the crumbs because all the money is made behind us. All the money is made off of our backs.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
there's some figure out there about how the dollar in the Black community, it lasts like what, 6 seconds, some ridiculous amount of time, because we aren't we aren't in a place where we're building up our communities to keep that money within our, our community. So we're not really getting ahead at all.
Yeah.
And
Not
we
at all.
don't have any like financial intelligence at all. So as soon as we get $1, we turn it around and spending $1.50, and so and that's the problem with our people is we don't know how to make that dollar turn into two. We just know how to spend more than what we have. And, a lot of it is, what we call, keeping up with the Joneses. Like, it's like we finally got some money. Let's look like it. Let's act like it. You know what I mean? But in the process of doing that, we're actually digging ourselves a bigger hole. And we're not ever coming up. We're always just staying afloat, if that.
And I learned something really interesting in the documentary about like how our people, when we were before we were integrated and we weren't getting access to like what we thought were the best things. It was always like products that were not as high quality apparently. And when you were convinced, quote unquote, that the white man's ice was colder and you have access to these things that seem to be nicer, richer, higher quality, you wanted to go to that because it's something that was denied to you before. So it felt like some level of freedom, but our people continue that process today with the keeping up with the Joneses. Like it's like trying to fulfill a hunger that was always like keeping never fulfilled before. And that's like a learned behavior type of thing. I got to have the nicest fits. I got to have like the name brand, like the top of the line. And that started before integration. So
It's like the reason why you see our people BMWs, Benzes in the front, and your house is like torn down. No type of real assets, but you got flashy things that you can't afford, that you're probably leasing.
Yeah.
Like,
That you're behind on payments on. And it's sad because going back to what Delia was saying, at the end of the day, like we're trying to keep up with them and we're trying to purchase, what they've created. They got the coldest ice, they got the nicest shoes, they got the freshest cars, they got the biggest houses. We're trying to get all that. But, it's sort of like a segue, but it still correlates. But, when we had Black Wall Street and we were booming, they saw how we were doing without them. So they had to tear us down and say, okay, look, we need to integrate with these people, but we need to make sure that they don't get to the point where they're able to, climb ahead of us or above us. So what they started doing, going back to what you're saying about, offering their things to us now, like, here, you guys can buy our things now. You guys can buy our things now because they saw the money in Black Wall Street being made. So they're like, we need to get that money. So let's allow them to be a part of what we're doing. That way they could buy our stuff and we can get all their money. And because we were so busy trying to, assimilate with them, we ended up taking the money out of our own pockets and giving it all to them. And so everything that we get now, it's going back into their pockets because that's how we feel like we've made it, is by being able to buy what they buy and have what they have, instead of just understanding that we have our own wealth.
yeah.
And it's like, with them being empowered, they can give and they can take away. And when you were talking about that, it made me think about the recent viral video with Jim Jones and Gucci. And it's like, why am I not getting service? I'm about to drop $23K in here. And it's like, well, when we had Black Wall Street and we were running our own thing and keeping our dollars within our community, you had a problem with that. And then you're like, oh, let me sell you our stuff. And now that we're buying your stuff in bulk, like it seems, now you want to take that back. It's like, it's just like a, being jerked around. You're always chasing the finish line. And, that is anti-Shemitism,
Well, they know that we're not united enough to start another Black Wall Street. So that's why now they're no longer afraid to tell us no. See, at first they wanted to keep us from uniting and building Black Wall Street because they saw the power, the economic power that we had. So they had to break that down. But then they were like, nah, we want you to buy our stuff so we can get that money. And like you said, now they're acting funny, like, oh, we don't want you to buy our stuff. Well, that's because now they know they could say that. And the only thing we're going to do is get mad about it because we're not going to unite enough to build our own. So at that point, it's like, okay, well, what they going to do about it? They don't worry, they'll be back next week. And that's exactly what we do. We just find a different white man to buy from. That's it.
Mm. That's real. And I feel like that raises the question too, like, how can we all do our part to support the Shemitic people? We see everything that we're facing from the beginning. We see how we've been affected by anti-Shemitism. What can we do to support ourselves? What can we do to support our people? Because we see they're not going to do it. Clearly, you see what they've done to us. How can we support ourselves?
Continue to promote ourselves the same way that we do it with the magazine. I mean, in the magazine, we're not only promoting a healthy lifestyle and a more enriching lifestyle, but the companies that we're promoting within the magazine are companies by us, companies created by us. So that's what we need to do. We need to continue that. Whatever we do, we got to make sure that we continue to tag along more of us to that. So that way, every time you see an ad, a promotion, anything like that, without you even knowing that that's what we're doing, you're going to end up supporting those businesses because you're going to be like, oh, okay, yeah, they have mentioned this. Okay, cool. I'm going to look into that. Then you start buying that, not even knowing. We just steered you into the direction of more of our people. So everybody, we just have to start supporting each other more and promoting each other more, highlighting ourselves as a community, as a nation, and everything that we do. When we do that, then we should be all right. But for the most part, I mean, like you said, there's name brands that don't need promotion that everybody already knows. So it's kind of easier to go that route. Why look for the new Black independent shoemaker when I can always just go get Nikes?
Yeah, and do our people think, clothing designers, Black clothing designers can be the next Gucci, can be the next Balenciaga or whatever? Do you have I think about Virgil Abloh, that he just died recently, I believe, with the off-white.
Virgil Abloh.
He was getting there. Yeezy, the Yeezys, but that's with Adidas. But still, we have seen that some of our people can get to that status of the same level of branding, and that should be. There's Jim Jones. That should be encouraging to people that we can do this.
And my thing is too, they set the tone for everything. Instead of him getting online complaining about, oh, they wouldn't service me, how about you say, you know what, y'all, they don't support us. Let's support ourselves. Someone drop in the comments all the black clothing brands that we should be supporting. Why is it so hard for us to band together and say, you know what, we're tired of giving y'all our $1.3 trillion a year, but we're the most impoverished in the country. We're tired of giving y'all that. Why don't we give it to ourselves? Why are we so afraid to support our own people? Do we feel like we're less valuable? Is it not as valuable? Is that what's going on? Is it is it self-hate? Because I'm really trying to understand why we're afraid to just support our own.
Well, you just nailed it though. You just nailed it. It's because we're not as valuable, but it's not because we're not as, valuable as far as quality. We're not as valuable because in the terms of media and popularity, we're not as valuable because you can't flex on somebody with something that nobody knows about. So if I'm trying to flex on you, I got to get the BMW. I got to get the Nikes. I got to get the Balenciagas. That's what I got to get to flex. Nope. Don't nobody know, what Jerome down the street got cooking. So I can't flex on you with that. You know what I mean? Because don't nobody know that Jerome's shirt, even though it may be $100, it's like, who is he though? But everybody know Balenciaga. So I can go flex on you with some Balenciaga and people be like, oh snap, dude, this is balling, dude, this and that. Like, so it's all about that name. And going by what Delia was mentioning earlier, as far as like the Yeezys and Virgil Abloh and stuff. Yeah, we do have those people and they're encouraging to us. But the problem is Yeezy wouldn't have sold without being Kanye West first. See, we have to come attached with a name, whereas they don't. Theirs is based simply on the fact that, oh, that's a nice, design. That's new. It's creative. It's innovative. Boom, let's put it out there. Whereas we have to come attached with a name. So if we don't have a name, then it's like, that's cute. Keep working hard. Maybe you'll make it one day. So that's the difference.
That's facts. But I think this is what I love about what the Kingdom is doing, because we're saying, forget all these brands. They don't support you. I don't know why you keep running to somebody that hates you. Literally, like example, Kingdom One Fashion. We can have our own luxury line that's fly and that's getting recognition out in the public. That's actually giving back to our community. What is Gucci doing for the Black community? What is Balenciaga doing for the Black community? What did Louis Vuitton do for the Black community? What did they do? I don't see what they did. And so it really shouldn't be that hard to switch gears once you see that, oh, actually, you're the cause of a lot of our detriment in our community. Like the people that are even buying and wearing these Gucci belts, so you're flashing a belt but you're making $10 an hour. Like, why are you doing this? And even what Jamel said about the media and popularity, we act like we don't set the tone for the whole realm anyway.
Right.
Exactly.
Because we definitely do.
We set the whole tone. Everything we do, they go and copy it. And it's always a watered down version of it. But yet we go back and run to the watered down when y'all are the originators of all of it.
It's like all these TikTok dancers. We create all the dances, and then the young white kids get on there, copy it, and they get big off our work, so but
I'm sick of and this is like a new trend going around too, this black scent. Have y'all heard about black scent?
Yeah.
No, I haven't heard about that.
The white women and white gay men who are trying to talk like us and speak like us, using our dialect, doing the mannerisms, the hand thing, the neck stuff, like all of that. Y'all were not raised on that. That's not even in your culture to do.
Yeah, at all.
I am Woe Vicky getting praised for acting like pretending to be a ghetto Black woman. Like this is what you're perpetuating. And people and our women are praising you and celebrating you for doing it.
Meanwhile, us and our women are also looking like ghetto, like we're ghetto for doing it, but they're getting praised for looking like and acting like us, and then we're praising them. Like it's telling you we still got that slave mentality. So that's what that is, man. It's sad, but I mean, like to, as the question says, like, how can we support ourselves? I mean, we got to just continue to uplift ourselves, like, Kingdom One fashion. I mean, we got to be able to show that we could create all the great stuff but keep it for ourselves, as opposed to giving it to them to create or to promote for us. And even though it'll be a taller task to climb doing it ourselves, it'll be more rewarding in the end when we get the benefits, and it'll be worth it, because then we could start, not only will we get the benefits of it and the reward, but the bigger reward is when you start to build a confidence and a value within the community, within the nation, about ourselves as a people. So now people will start seeing us as valuable and not just saying, nah, we got some value to us. Like, no, now we'll actually look at ourselves the way that we look at the Balenciagas and the Louis Vuittons and Gucci's and all that. Now we'll actually start looking at ourselves like that. And we'll actually start saying, you know what? We do need to support ourselves. We do need to start buying our own and creating our own and go back to that mindset. But I think we're so programmed now. There's no way to turn on that light and let them see how hypocritical we are as a people. It's like we get mad that we're not, showcased enough in media. Yet whenever we get media, we're not even showcasing ourselves. So we have to start showing each other that, how hypocritical we are as a people. And we have to start being able to hold ourselves accountable and not be like, oh, nah, I didn't say it. It's not because of that. It's because we always got an excuse when it's our turn, So I think we need to stop with the excuse. We just start, need to be real with ourselves and accept that accountability when we're not doing what we're trying to project ourselves to do.
Yeah, that's real. That's real. I just want to know, what will it take for us to get to the point of, we don't need y'all. We never needed y'all. If we could literally band together and for one day not spend any bread with anyone other than our people, what would that look like realistically? Just one day. That's not even like you got to go a month without, one day. That would crush the whole system.
It's just sad that we even got to pose that question.
It is sad.
It's sad that we got to pose that question. Can't we all just support each other? Like that's like an odd question to have to ask ourselves. Like, can we support ourselves? Can we support each other? But it's programming. I mean, we look at how even we look at ourselves the way that society looks at us. Like, if we're walking down the street and we see, a brother with tattoos and cornrows, we've been programmed to think the same way that they think. And so we see him, the first thing we're thinking is, he probably up to no good. Instead of just seeing him as another brother and just being like, that's just his style. He just like braids and he like tats. That's his thing. Like, You know what I'm saying? So it's just the programming. We're never going to get out of it because we're too far gone into this programming. And so unless we have a powerful enough, engine in front of us to really just stop us and say, yo, you guys really look at what we're doing. The people that we have who can do that, sadly, aren't doing that. And I think that's a theme for every, conversation that we have, is that, you got the people like the Diddy's and the Jay-Z's and stuff like that, who can be that, voice, but they're never that voice. And because they're always trying to watch themselves, because they're more concerned with their pockets than they are with helping us. And so they're like, we could be black just enough, but we don't want to hurt our pockets. So we're not going to say those things. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, they rather be billionaires than be 100,000aires and helping other people out. You know what I'm saying? And so that's the problem. We feel like, hey, I'm not going to do anything to mess up my pocket. They're not my child. They're not my concern. I did it so they can do what they got to do. That's what the mindset is. It's all a selfish mindset,
Yeah. And that's not real power. We're still within a system that is not run by us, doesn't support us. It literally sucks the living life out of us. And the only way we can get out of this is, humbling ourselves and going to the Most High, because He has to draw back this punishment to get us out of this captivity. And that's how we get unindoctrinated from all the things that we've picked up from our punishment, and how we come into who we truly are, because that's the real uplifting, powerful mindset that we need to be in, is by knowing that we are Shemitic people, more specifically the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and that our God, the only living true God of all, is the Most High of Israel. And if we're going to be successful, we have to acknowledge that first in anything that we're going to do, or we're going to keep going in circles like we've been doing.
Right.
Unfortunately, I feel like it's just going to be circles. I don't think there's enough of us that that care to even break out of the wheel, because they get comfortable, and with the media constantly like battling our fight. So it's like there's always a point in time in history where Black people try to unite, come together, and be like, you know what, no, we need to stand up for ourselves. We need to, let them hear us. The louder we get, the more they distract us with other tokens, and they start putting more tokens out there, more tokens. And then it drains us out. And
we can't do this within our own power, right? Like, only the Most High can draw this back. He said, I put a punishment on you that only I can remove. So like we have all of our civil rights leaders, we have all of our Black reconstructive periods and all of these things, all of these movements. We have the Black Lives Matter movement most recently, but that is stuff that we're trying to do in our own power to say we are going to uplift ourselves. But if people need like perspective, and they need to understand what is actually happening to you. You don't understand what's happening to you, so you can't even figure out how to get out of it. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's a fact, because you'll have the people today who have achieved success who don't feel like we're in a captivity still. They're like, oh no, I made it. What do you mean? I'm good. I got a job, I got a house, I got assets, I have wealth. What you mean captivity? We made it. Nigga, we made it. Like, what you mean?
Let's say one thing is hegemony and you're over. You're back down to where you started from. So you really don't have real power here.
Exactly. They don't understand that, because it's all about money. At the end of the day, they like, if they really understood what it meant to have power, they would understand that, hey, power is being able to say what in the world you want without having to deal with the consequence of the person above you. You don't have that kind of power, because the person above you is watching everything you say. And as soon as you say the wrong thing, your pockets is going to look a lot shorter than they were yesterday. So it's like, but we're not seeing that, because what we are seeing is, cool, I got enough to have 8 cars. I got enough to have a couple million in the bank. I got a big house. You know what I'm saying? I'm wearing the nicest of clothes, and I'm on TV, and I'm chilling. Like, that's success to them. That's empowerment to them, and that's because the only thing that we assimilate with making it is money, but we don't understand what it really means to be free and to have power, your own power, whereas they do. That's why they continue to play these mind games with us, because they know they got the power. They know they do. So they just, they give us, a couple of crumbs, keep us happy. Sometimes you might get a few actual good slices, and they make us feel like, oh snap, we on our way to getting our own loaf. You know what I mean? But they never really do. They never really do. So, but it's just ignorance on our part. That's all it is. Total ignorance.
Yeah, for sure. I just really think, like Delia said, it's gonna take for the Most High to really shake this thing up. He's been shaking it up 2020, he really got active. 2021, he got more active. 2022, he's activated. Like he's not playing. And I don't know how much more it's gonna take. It's gonna take way more, which is sad. It's gonna take way more. And he's gonna crack the whole thing, and he shouldn't even have to get your attention. It should not take that much for you to acknowledge your creator and the inheritance that you have if you would just act right.
Yeah,
what's the verse that
absolutely.
Donkey knows his maker, the some other animal, but Israel does not know. Like, I totally missed that verse. I'm sorry, y'all, but you know what I'm talking about. Like,
I know.
I don't understand.
It's in Isaiah. That's Isaiah. Is it 1? Is it Isaiah 1? I know what verse you're talking about though, because it's like even they know what's good, but why don't you? There we go.
Why don't you know?
Why don't you know? Like, why don't you know? Yeah.
We were cursed to forget.
We were, which is another thing that it makes the whole anti-Shemitism conversation so relevant. Recognize this is a curse because of our disobedience. You know, we can say all the terrible things our enemies have done to us, but let's look at really why we were even placed in this place of subjection to begin with. They're going to get dealt with for what they've done, but we're being dealt with now for what we've done.
I'm going to read this right quick so I can redeem myself from butchering this. It says, the ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib, but Israel doth not know. They do not. My people do not consider.
Yeah. I think it's crazy that my boy, he and I had this conversation a while back, and we were just talking about how basically speaking on Isaiah 1, like how, you know, animals never stray from their natural ways. You know, man is the only one that has. And because of that, we've messed everything up. We've messed up the order of everything because everything was connected. And as long as everything was acting in its natural way, then everything would have continued to be okay. But because man started to interfere with everything, they wanted to be like, hold on, let me see how I can mess that up. Let's mix this animal with this animal, and let's eat this, and then let's add this here, and then let's put this enzyme here into this. And we just started dibbling and dabbling and stuff and just making everything brand new, you know, but really we were just messing up the order and then the natural ways of things. And because of that, I mean, this is where we are now, you know. You know, the first form of identity theft was you know, with Satan, you know, and putting himself into the snake and just like steering us wrong, you know what I'm saying? And being like, oh nah, man, go down, get that fruit, man. Go ahead and get that other fruit that I'm talking about over here. We got this other stuff over here, man. You don't know about this yet. You know, don't worry about what he telling you. He trying to hide you. He got some stuff he hiding from you. You need to come see it though. Open that door. Went over there, got that other fruit, got them words, and it just threw us off. And from then on, we've been messed up. You know what I'm saying? And he tricked us. And everything that Satan do is through trickery. You know what I'm saying? Everything he does is through trickery. You know, so all we're doing every day is just watching new magicians pop up. You know what I mean? And they just hitting us with new tricks all the time. And we just like, oh snap, oh y'all see that? You know what I mean? And then we go with it. We following, you know? So that's all it is.
Yeah, they're definitely on some heavy manipulation games. Like even this doesn't have anything to do with the Shemitic conversation, but just the fact that I just saw some news yesterday, they really moving forward with this artificial womb stuff. Like they really like, yeah, we want to do this. Like for real, like y'all women, y'all don't have to give birth ever again. What y'all gonna do that for? And it's like, what do you mean?
Man, yeah, it's crazy, man. It's real crazy. And I think it's crazy because, you know, we tie everything together with the artificial wombs and the gay agenda, and then I think a lot of people try to act like I think they try to act like as far as the gay agenda goes, that the Most High wasn't perfect in His creation, because you have, what do they call them, intersex people, what I'm
Yeah.
saying, who, and so they feel like, look, that was a mishap, you know what I mean? So everybody isn't who they are at birth because of, you know what I mean? And it's like, actually, even they are who they are at birth, because if they're a woman, they will eventually have puberty and go through that phase like a woman. And if they're a man, they will have that phase as a man. It's just that their genitalia just may have been deformed because of, it's genetic. So at that point, instead of blaming it on genetics, they're blaming it on the Most High and saying, no, He messed up. Well, no, it's just somewhere in your bloodline, somewhere in your family, your genes is messed up. Like, somebody did something that should have been going on. You know what I'm saying? This is just the issues that y'all created. You know what I'm saying? You got to think of the foods we're eating, the drugs we're taking, you know what I mean? All this stuff, like, all that messes us up, but they don't want to hold themselves accountable for that. They want to say the Most High messed it up, but at the end of the day, it's like, it's crazy because they're finding every way to try to convince us that, like Satan did in the garden, like, nah, he's hiding something. He lying to you. He lying to you. We gonna show you the truth. Everybody, there is not just black or white. There is no just male, female. There is no, like, they're gonna find every way to be like, nah, there's a third, fourth, and fifth, type out here too, and you could be who you want to be regardless of what you are. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, all this stuff is just crazy, I liked it better when we were kids and we just dressed up as superheroes. That was the only time I could be somebody else. Like, other than that, like, I don't know about this next. Like, now it's, I don't know, all this other stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a fact. But I think that tonight we really did a diligent job in diving into all of this, and really, like, diving into anti-Semitism and how we know anti-Semitism, prejudice against the Jewish people. Um, Shout out to them and their prejudice. But we know who Shem is, and Shem is us. Shem is our forefathers. Shem is Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Shem is Israel, our nation, and history shows the Semitics, and history is showing us the Shemitics. They don't call us that, but they show us every day. They show how we're victims of anti-Shemitism every day. And those who claim anti-Semitism have not been inclusive of us. We see what has happened to Whoopi Goldberg, Nick Cannon, Ice Cube, Deshaun Jackson. I mean, the list goes on. Have been reprimanded for just speaking the truth. And we have been historically affected by anti-Shemitism. We have, I'm sure personally, been affected by anti-Shemitism attacks. And if you want to do your part to stand up, then you have to stand with the Shemitic people and acknowledge who we are as a people, and honestly just tell the truth about our experience. And we won't be silenced any longer.
No, not at all. Not at all. And I think one thing that that's crazy is, they will, reprimand us for speaking out and calling us anti-Semitic because we're speaking the truth. But in the same token, during, like, the civil rights era, during the Black Lives Matters movement, stuff like that, like, the Jewish community was actually trying to help us out in those causes. And the reason why is because anytime that anything benefited us, it actually benefited them as well. So they came up on our come up. And just like they're coming up on our heritage, just like they're coming up on our heritage. So instead of reprimanding us, why don't they just look at the quote unquote similarities between their plight and ours? And just and this goes back to what brother Yowitzes I was saying last week. Like, okay, let's not go back and forth. Let's just compare and discuss our past and what we've been through. And if we look at the scripture and see how the curses compare to what we've been through, you guys can believe that's what you went through all day, but we actually have gone through it. So go ahead and keep your belief, but also acknowledge that we actually did go through it. That way, cool. We'll both be Jews, but don't cut us out of that. You know what I'm saying? Don't cut us out
You
of
raise
it.
a good point. You raise a good point.
Yeah.
Like when I saw a lot from Jewish people after Whoopi Goldberg made the statement she made, which I might I add wasn't a false statement. There was nothing that she said that was wrong, incorrect, hurt. I'm not sure like why some people were offended, because like she was still
It's just because
saying
she
that it
used
was
the word
wrong.
Holocaust.
Yeah, you know, like it was still wrong, but she said it wasn't about race. And if I'm not mistaken, to be Jewish, it's an ethno-religious group. Like you can still be Jewish and be discriminated against not because of race, but because of your ethnicity, your religion. That's in the definition of anti-Semitism. So I just found it strange that some people were against what she said, and instead of finding commonality with her, like, you know that she's a black woman in America, you know what the struggle has been, what the struggle is currently, and you didn't find commonality with her, you didn't align with her. Why is that? Why can't we have the Semitic people and the Shemitic people at least understand that both of us have gone through systematic oppression? Why can't we?
because they want to continue to play the victim. We can't ever play the victim, and that's the thing. It just, you know, and I know we've had this actual conversation as well, but we can't ever play the victim. They always have to be the victim, because at the end of the day, it takes the attention off of them being, you know, the antagonist and everything. Now they don't want to be the ones to be looked at as, you know, the one that is basically killing everybody. You know, you like, I mean, it's simple as that. Like, I mean, you look through history, everything that's ever happened has happened with them. So if they continue to play that victim role, it kind of blinds everybody to everything else that they did. And this is the biggest thing that they hold on to. Like, there's nothing bigger than the Holocaust for them. So that's why they try to make it even bigger, because they want to magnify it. So that way it's like, oh man, this many people died. Well, you know, in the last, I don't know, 20, 30 years, you know, we've had how many people die? You know what I'm saying? That, like, we have more people dying in a few years' time than they had in the whole Holocaust. You know,
Yes.
continually. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, you guys had your one moment in history where you had a vast majority of deaths at one time, but we get that all the time. Like, it's surprising that we still even got numbers on the board at this point as fast as they knocking us out. Like, it's crazy. You know what I'm saying? But it's like they continue to kill us off. Meanwhile, they had their one moment in time that they want to magnify. You know, they want to magnify that, but then they want to kill out, you know, CRT. It's like, come on, man, stop it. You know, because in order,
you're right.
Yeah, we are now. Yeah. Like I said, we're going to continue to be. It's a never ending thing for us. You know, this is like, the Holocaust is like our daily thing. That's what we go through every day. Every day. We're just like, who's next? That's every day. Who's next? And so the fact that we got to live like that, and they had one moment in time where they were stamped with a number like, yo, this your turn. Like, they was like, dang, remember that one time? Like, it's that one time story everybody hold on to. Remember that one time though? That one time. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, well, remember yesterday? Like, that's how we got it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, we go to sleep at night, we come home. It's like, whew, thank God. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's do this again tomorrow. So it's sad, but it's the truth. And they try to magnify their one, because as long as they can magnify that, it always makes them seem like, yeah, all this stuff has happened in the world, but nobody has ever got it worse than us. That's their claim to, you know, sympathy, fame, I guess. I don't know. But you know, it is what it is, man. We're just always gonna have to deal with that, you know, BS, because one, they're not gonna ever admit to what they did, and we're never gonna hold them accountable.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad that we had this conversation tonight. As they are survivors of their Holocaust, we're daily survivors of ours. And so I think that it's important that we uplift each other, strengthen each other, continue to educate each other on our Holocaust, on being the Shemitic people, and what that means, and how ultimately returning to the Most High will free us from this bondage.
Absolutely.
I definitely appreciate everyone who was watching with us tonight, who joined our conversation. We look forward to having more conversations about this in the near future.
Definitely. I mean, it's a conversation that's definitely going to continue to be had, because, you know, it's something that's continuing to plague us literally every day. So it's, you know, next week there'll be another Black entertainer reprimanded.
Now, if that actually happens, we're gonna play this back. Told y'all, this is the anti-Shemitism. We are anti-Shemitism stamp, like anti-Shemitism. Period. That's what it is. But yes, thank you all for watching with us, and we pray you all have a great night, and we'll see you next time.
Shalom.
Shalom.